My name is Naomi Stead and I am the head of the Department of Architecture at Monash University, and I'm here speaking to my colleague and dear friend, Maryam Gusheh, who's an associate professor in the department. Maryam, can you tell us a bit about yourself?
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Maryam and I work closely with Naomi and also with Ari as part of the leadership team in architecture department. And I also teach in first year in the technology and environment stream and also offer courses in the master's program. I've been at Monash for 2 years, and before that I used to work at University of New South Wales in Sydney for quite a long time, where I was the program director. And I live in Sydney, so I'm speaking to you from my home in Sydney, where I live with my partner and daughter.
And what do you teach at Monash?
This year I'm teaching a study unit which is related to my research, and I also teach a large course in the core program in first year which is on material performance in the technology and environment stream.
What do you love about material performance?
I love materials so much. You know, our built environment, our homes, the places we work, the world we inhabit are made from materials, and materials have got interesting properties. They have smells, they have textures, they make us feel warm or cold. They have really interesting histories, so we can understand, learn about material ideas in the way they have been shaped through time and how that's changed. We can learn about new technologies and how we can rethink materials in new ways. And also they have a strong sense of ethics. So the way we use materials, we have to think about where they come from, what energy is used in making them, how long they last. And so in a sense, architecture is dependent on materials, and we need to understand materials to make good works of architecture.
So how is what you're going to be teaching in the coming semester? How's that interesting? How's that new?
One of our priorities is to think about the relationship with structure and construction and environment in an integrated way. So when I talk about materials, then we think about materials and how they behave in all sorts of ways in terms of their strength, environmental performance. So I think it's that integration that makes the course really interesting to try and think about materials from diverse perspectives. We're also going to be studying really fantastic buildings. So we use a case study based technique to study materials. So we use the opportunity to introduce the students to buildings we love as practitioners of architecture and people who think about architecture quite a lot. So I think it's a really, it'll be a lively and informative course. And
can you tell me about a building that you love?
Well, I like the building that's in my background. It's called the Khane Abbasi, or the Abbasi House. It's in one of my favourite cities. It's one of the 19th century courtyard houses in the city of Kashan in Iran, where I was born. And I love these houses because they've this beautifully layered quality of indoor and outdoor spaces that are woven together. And they have this, you can see this very homogeneous material quality on one hand, made from principally sort of one masonry material and kind of finished in this smooth way. But at the same time, there's infinite variety in them in the way that the structure and spaces are articulated and provide you with sort of dynamic movement of space.
If you had a message to incoming first year Bachelor of Architectural Design students who are about to study in your architectural technology unit, what would you say to them?
I'd say to them that the technology course is actually not that distinct from a design course. Sometimes technology and environment courses are seen as more technical aspect of architecture. But I think the way that we were going to teach technology is very much thinking about technology and environment as a way of thinking about design. So I think if they're interested in architecture, if they're interested in learning how buildings work and are put together, but also how you can very much think about ideas, architectural ideas through learning about materials, that they would like the course. And first year has always been an area I really love teaching in, because students just come in without any architectural kind of experience or knowledge, but absorb so much in such a quick period of time. And often students ask whether you need, you know, prior training in architectural art or design to come into architecture. But my view is that not really. It's just that you have to, if you enjoy cities and you enjoy buildings and you think about relationship of cities and buildings to the way people live, then architecture school is a good place for you.
Yeah, I mean, thinking about that, going back in time, why was it that you were interested in studying architecture? You have a full architectural training.
When I decided to study architecture, I was still a fairly recent migrant to Australia, and it's a classic example of I really enjoy the humanities and art, but I had a really strong grounding in the sciences, and architecture just seemed to me like a really viable area for people who are interested in humanities to engage in the world of ideas, but still have that foot in technical kind of competency.
You've always said to me that you're particularly looking out for international students and their unique situation. Does that come from your own experience of being a migrant, new to a country?
Yes, I suppose I've got a great deal of empathy for people who move countries and, you know, have to kind of make a new life in context of new learning experiences, new education experiences. I came to Australia in high school, quite late in high school. And so, yeah, there is a period of adjustment that's quite challenging and everything is quite unfamiliar. So it takes a little while to get used to it. But I'm also interested in it theoretically, if you like, in that I'm interested in how do we migrate ideas between cultures. So how can, if we learn architectural practice in one setting, how does that translate to another cultural setting? And that was part of what I studied in my PhD. I looked at the work of the American architect Louis Kahn and his project for the Parliament building in Bangladesh, and I looked at how some of his thinking translated across those cultures. So I'm interested in that, in international study, both from a personal perspective, but also from a more kind of research-based perspective. And I think it's really wonderful the way we have so many students from all over the world studying with us, and I often think they bring so much with them in terms of their experience of other cities and other locations, and it works best when we take advantage of that knowledge.
Yeah. What are your hobbies?
Knitting. COVID-19 has revived my knitting life. I'd stopped knitting for a while, but I've been knitting quite a lot. I'm knitting a cardigan right now for my daughter. And I think knitting is such a fantastic tradition or craft because it involves a yarn, 2 needles and 2 stitches essentially, but then you can do so much with them. It's quite related to construction.
Great. All right. Well, look, I think we might be done, Maz.
It wasn't that bad. I think if I did it again, I'll be better.
You will be perfect. All right. Thanks, Maz.